Law enforcement leaders are under serious pressure to get their agencies to full staff and to keep them there. But what happens when those applicants start to disappear?
5, 6 years, 7 years ago, I could run an ad for employment, and within a few weeks I would have 30 or 35 applicants. This past month I run an ad, and I'm seeing 5 and 6 applicants.
Chief Wesley Cannon with the Byron Police Department says that shortage can make hiring a nightmare.
Especially when you see those 5 or 6 applicants and the quality of those applicants. You know, when you got a bigger pool to pick from, you can find usually good people to hire. When the pool is smaller, sometimes that might be harder.
Cannon says he has not lowered his hiring standards.
You can't pin a badge just on anybody's chest.
But he says that commitment to high standards has left his agency 2 officers short of full staff, and he admits 2 of his current officers were fired from previous agencies. He says both have been highly successful with Byron PD. We've already told you about Centerville Police Department. Leaders there hired at least 3 officers who had been recommended for termination at one of their prior agencies, and 2 went on to receive workplace discipline again while in Centerville. Centerville Chief Chuck Haddon maintains that, like Chief Cannon, he has not lowered his department's standards.
I would rather, and we've done it before, I work a patrol shift, the captain will work a patrol shift, the lieutenant will work a patrol shift before we put somebody out there that is not what we want.
We sent open records requests to 8 other Central Georgia agencies to see if they were like Centerville and currently employed any sworn officers who had been terminated, resigned in lieu of termination, or resigned while under investigation from a prior agency. At more than half, the answer was yes. Some only had 1 or 2 sworn officers who met that criteria. Others had lots, and many of those officers were hired as the shortage worsened. The experts in Atlanta say the issue is everywhere.
It's not a Central Georgia problem. This is a statewide. We see that across the state.
That's Ryan Powell, the Deputy Executive Director of Georgia's Peace Officer Standards and Training Council. Also known as POST, the agency accredits every law enforcement officer in the state and tracks them all throughout their career. He says the officer shortage came to a head in the last 5 years, and it's leading some departments to hire applicants they once would have rejected.
Go to the B band. We can't look at the A listers now. We have to look at B listers and maybe some in the C range. It's true, and we hear that.
It's a trend that has Chief Cannon fearing the worst.
If there's not a change in the next 5 to 10 years, nationwide or statewide, you can say with law enforcement, I think you're going to see fewer and fewer and fewer police officers on the street.
And where does that leave us?
It leaves me in a state of not just being scared, but afraid. We're the only thing between good and evil. If there's not enough of us out there, we can't protect everybody.
So that's the problem. Now what's being done to fix it? We take what we found to state leaders tomorrow night in part 3 of Warning Lights. For 13 Investigates, I'm Zach Merchant.